sits and waits. And the sending computer, instead of acknowledging the acknowledgement and then beginning transmission, which would be normal protocol, sends another request for transmission. And then the server sends back an acknowledgement of that, and now the server has two sessions that it's trying to monitor and wait on further traffic from. And then the sending machine will send back another request for opening up a communication port, and the server will send back another acknowledgement of that. And finally, the server has a good bit of its CPU time dedicated to monitoring several different sessions that have only started and are not progressing. When those requests come in from hundreds of different machines simultaneously, then that's very difficult for a server to recognize that these are bogus requests, because if they were all coming from one machine, it might get the picture after a little while and say, hey, we're not going to recognize any more requests from that IP address. But the problem is it comes from lots of different IP addresses. And so how does that happen? Well, basically what you have are, in this diagram here, the attackees. These are zombie machines. These are machines. It might be the machine you own at home that has sometime in the past had software implanted on it by an email or some free software that you downloaded. Can come into your machine in a variety of ways, and it just sits there waiting for the appropriate signal. When it gets the appropriate signal from some guiding master computer somewhere else, it then begins to send out these requests to the attacked server. Okay, so what we see here is the attacker is sitting who knows where, in Fiji someplace, or North Korea or whatever, and he sends out a request that goes to a whole bunch of machines that have had this zombie software previously implanted on them. And then each of these machines then is sending its request to start the service. Now, this is a figure of speech, or a figure of image here. We're not actually going to start this machine on fire. We just bog down its CPU trying to handle all these requests simultaneously so that it functionally cannot do anything else. And that's how we shut down a server. Okay. Network attacks, SYN flood attack, countermeasures. A countermeasure to a SYN flood attack, and that's what we've just described here as a SYN flood attack, is to disable incoming echo requests at the router, to install IDSs or IPSs, to install application firewalls on all computers to prevent the sending and receiving of multiple echo requests. Those are some of the ways that you can counteract a Smurf attack or other types of SYN flood attacks, denial of service or distributed denial of service attacks. Then we have the whole issue of social engineering. Social engineering is usually when one human being tricks another human being into giving proprietary information such as login and passwords. And this can be done in a large variety of ways. There are so many different ways social engineering is done today, and most of these work for some people some of the time. So basically, what we're doing is we're gathering information from individuals who know how to have access to the server and trick them into delivering that information to us, thinking that we are good guys when really we're the bad guys. Social engineering then is accomplished by a person asking for personal information via the telephone, internet, and you giving the personal information freely to that person, not suspecting that they are not authorized requesters of that. Let's look at some examples here. Personal information examples might be your Social Security number. People are deceived all the time into giving their Social Security numbers away on the telephone because they think they're talking to somebody who's authorized to have it, but they aren't. They aren't the good guys you think they are. They're the bad guys pretending to be the good guys. Your maiden names or mother's maiden name or address and phone numbers, credit card numbers, PIN numbers, passwords, those are all the sorts of things that people get tricked into giving other folks. Here are a couple of scenarios to consider. So, hypothetically, you're the secretary for a corporation and you receive a phone call from someone claiming to be the CEO's son. And they tell you that their dad has forgotten the admin password for the VPN tunnel to the corporation's network and that he asked him to call you and get it for him. You know the CEO is on vacation and you know the CEO has a son. So, do you give him the password? Now, most people would do that, unless, of course, the corporation had a very strict and heavily enforced policy to, no matter who calls, never give this information out on the telephone. Only under those kinds of conditions are you going to ensure that somebody like this isn't going to call in and get access to your, in this case, VPN tunnel, which is a pretty serious violation. Here's another scenario. You return from lunch to find a Post-it note on your monitor informing you that the IT department had a problem with the corporation's server, and a note asks you to change your password to something written on the Post-it note. So without thinking, some people might go ahead and change the password to that, reset the password to this new password. Well, obviously what's happening is in some machine somewhere else, somebody is just continually trying to access your account with that password until finally they get in, which will be right after you just changed it. And then they'll change the password back, potentially, to whatever they want, or go ahead and access your account using this new, not very secret password now. And you have no clue. You think you did what the server admin asked you to do, and all you're doing is being a good employee and complying with a little yellow sticky that you found on your machine when you got back from lunch. And so this is a case where you may have your access violated for a considerable amount of time, never suspecting that somebody else is getting unauthorized access to your files and whatever other systems you have legitimate access to on the computer. All right, then there is the whole classification of malware. Malware comes in lots of different forms. It's all software, it's code that causes the system to perform in some undesirable manner. Comes in lots of different categories. A virus is a type of malware, so are worms, Trojan horses, bots, rootkits. These are all types of malware. A virus is a program that infects files on a computer system that is initiated by a manual effort, usually by the user. Viruses have the ability to change system files and to change themselves, and that makes it very difficult for detection and cleaning. Viruses come by way of emails, downloads, IM, all sorts of ways viruses can get into the computer. A worm is like a virus, but it needs no user intervention to spread to other computers in the corporation's network. It spreads itself automatically. Usually they're propagated by users' laptops that are infected and then get plugged into the corporation's network. Bots are particular